Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Are you feeling refreshed after the long weekend? I know I am. We have a poll going on right now. Long weekend, what did you do? Options are stay in and chillax, which is what I did, or go out and party. If you did something, please let me in the comments know what you did. I would love to hear about it. Personally, I told this to my colleagues and they were very surprised. I finished all 6 seasons of the community. I am a little bit proud and a little bit ashamed. I don't know how to explain this mixed feeling. But another show that I've been watching so far is called The Series of Unfortunate Events. Apparently, it aired in 2017, so it's nothing new, but it really reminded me something like Wednesday, and it's very aesthetic. Um, what's that aesthetic movie? Help me, August. The Pink Hotel. Uh, what is that called?
Pink Hotel. Um,
I think people might know. Okay. Please let me know if you saw it. I see so many people in the comment. Welcome, everyone. Max Effect House, a new Effect House YouTube account. Mike Blackhat, hello again. Filter Dank, hello. Haley Catpaws, hi. Louise, wow, nice to see you again. Bruno also says hello. Hi, Bruno. Mike Blackhat, yep, everyone's here. So glad to see you. And August, I love your face. That is a deeply attractive face. You look like a weird mix between eggplant and squash. What do you name this effect?
I
Yes.
I name it side character in Pixar movie.
That is so right. That is so right. And Filter Dang did get my question. The Grand Budapest Hotel. Yes, that was literally what I was talking about. Great teamwork, Filter Dang. Give me a high five. High
Nice. I was
fives.
imagining that movie, but I could not remember what it was called.
Yeah, I know. It was so aesthetic. Um, okay. Let's start off with the questions. If you have, please tell me what you did in the weekend in the comments. I would love to hear about it. Max Effect House says, "Where do I find Cat Tracker again?"
Cat tracker. um, if there's any pet effects, I think a lot of them will be in here, but some of the pet effects are actually part of our other stuff. So like you'll go to AR tracking and then go to head tracker, and you can change this from human to cat. And I think that's what you would be looking for. But yeah, sometimes there are some components that are set for both human and cat, and those will be found in their default locations.
Wait, it's been a while, so I'm blinking. Do we have face inset for cats or no?
Like head
I think we
segmentation
did.
or face inset.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. So for face effects, face inset, and then we have human face or cat face or dog face. So it's the same kind of idea as head tracker.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Uh, Max, you are not stupid. I forget things all the time. Florencia says, "Is it possible to render a material to sky segmentation?"
Yeah. So anytime you want to render a material or even just an image to sky segmentation, one thing that you can do is you could use a skybox or you could use a plane. So a skybox. So let's start with a plane. So the plane, you would maybe just rotate it so that it's facing down. Oops. So you would make it face down, and then you would put it up in the sky, um, maybe really big. And this is if you don't want to deal with skyboxes, or if you don't have a skybox and you just have a repeating material or a repeating pattern. You might do this, and then put your pattern into a material. Let's just create a default material. Um, and get the checkerboard just to see what it looks like. Now we have this checkerboard kind of looking thing. And then you don't have to put it too high or anything, and you can manipulate the UVs to fit what you want here. But then essentially, when you create the sky segmentation, okay, segmentation texture, sky segmentation, then you would render this sky segmentation on a 2D camera like this. And you would use select sky segmentation in your image component. And now it doesn't look like anything because, well, partially because my preview is just my video with no sky. But let's do environment sky. And here you can see it's just showing the sky because we're cutting out from the camera texture. But if we want to cut out from the other one, well, the first thing we need to do is create a render texture for it to write to. So we'll just call this sky pattern. It's going to be our checkerboard. And then we just can delete this other stuff. We don't need it anymore. And just make sure the camera, oops, is outputting to our new sky pattern RT. We don't actually want to render the plane to our final video. And now our sky segmentation texture can use that captured pattern and let's see. So the render textures, when you capture them and use them from a camera, I think for whatever reason, they're flipped upside down on the y-axis. So you might actually be better off flipping this like this, and then doing something like that. And then, as you can see, whatever your pattern is in the sky. So if you want to do something better, you would probably use a skybox. And to use a skybox, let's see. You just have to add a skybox material. Now, the special thing about the skybox material is that it will kind of use a vertex shader, so it won't show a plane, even though the plane is what you have set up here. Your skybox material will automatically change. We'll just change the whole plane to like the whole sky. But default cube map. So we don't really have a cube map to work with, but this is where we would plug in our checkerboard cube map. And then it would kind of deform to the sky a little better. The in-between method for this would be using like a sphere or an actual cube if you don't have the cube map texture. And you could, oops. So if we just set this back to standard PBR, just one last example. I'll just show what happens if we do a cube or a sphere instead. So change this to sphere. And then in our standard PBR, to make sure the inside of the sphere renders weirdly. Oh yeah, it's in render state. I think we'll just want to do front. Now the inside of the sphere will render this giant sphere. And this is kind of how you would get your kind of, rounded look. And you can rotate it until it looks correct. And then you don't have the edges of the sky. And you can like manipulate that until it looks how you want. Of course, you can update the UVs so the checkerboard isn't like blurry. If you were actually using this checkerboard, you might do something like 15 and 15. And then it looks a little more, clear. So yeah, mess with the UVs, mess with the rotation, look up skyboxes and learn a little bit more about them and create your own skybox cube map. And then, yeah, those are some various ways you could go about it.
Very nice. I think she was satisfied. She said, "Yes, thanks." We have a next question from our forums. It says, Rinko Mahalo says, "Hi guys, I hope you all have a wonderful creative day. I've been struggling with counting issues. I want to count eye wink, so I use blink eye right or blink eye left or blink eye either nodes. But when I use these nodes, they also count when we blink both eyes. So is there any way to get around that?"
Um, so the question is like when you blink both eyes, you only want to count the both eye blink and not the individual eye blink. That might be a little hard if you don't blink your eyes at the same time, but it's triggering a both eyes blink when you blink one and then the other. That will be kind of hard. But
I think I think what they want is I just want to count eye wink, and I don't want my effect work when users just blink. So I think they want to count the winks when you're only closing one eye but not both eyes.
okay. Yeah. Well, let's just bring it up. Blink. Is this face expression detection or no? Face movement detection, right? Okay. So the first thing I would do, just even to just like test, is a counter. Was there a second counter? Continuous snapshot. So the nice thing about this is we have eye blink left end as well. So you could actually track this if you care a lot. But just to start out, we'll just say, oops. We'll just duplicate this a couple times. And then one will be for left, one will be for right, and one will be for both. This is where I would start, and I would just do some experiments just to see. Let's take the other thing off the screen and put the camera back on. So if I just blink, it seems like it does detect each of these. So I'm guessing that's basically the entire problem. So then one thing we could do is when they eye blink both, we could say like we could like decrease each of these. So this is like a quick solution, and if it works well enough, I don't think you would need another solution, honestly. What we can see. So let's just peek at the values here and then see how well this works. So what we want to do is we want to do some double blink, some regular blinks and some winks, and see if it knows. We definitely don't need this checkerboard sky to take up 2/3 of the screen anymore. Okay, so did a blink. These are good. Yeah, that seems to be pretty good. I'm wondering. Huh. It seems like sometimes it will actually. Yeah, this one went back down to 0, meaning that at some point a double eye blink reduced the score, but didn't register a right eye blink. Okay, when I do those slow, like where it starts on the left and then goes right, um, seems to act a little strange. Hmm. But I would say this is a good starting point. I would do it's hard to say exactly what to do because I would have to do some experimentation to see exactly what triggers each of these events. And then what I might do is I might say something like maybe even do like a little wait to make sure that the like single eye blink doesn't turn into a double eye blink if it's like something that could happen really fast. Like and then I would maybe like put a timer on there saying like blink just started and maybe like wait several frames to see if the other eye blinks to like sort of I guess that would be up to you if you decide that that would be also a double eye regular blink or or if that counts as like two winks. But yeah, maybe something to experiment deeper with. This is a good starting point though. This covers like normal cases where people aren't like doing that.
Okay, thank you. Bruno says, August, please make a sticker pack with your faces of the week. Every office hour is a different August character. I think we had sad August when we were introducing the sad generative effect, and then we had the pretty August, but it was like very masculine at the same time. We have this very squished August. Amazing. So many questions. Okay. Filter Dank says, I have a question regarding to a setup, a basic effect where I want to transition between two or more 3D scenes to tell a story. What's the best way to set up the effect to save memory?
To save memory. Um I would say you don't have to worry too much, but I don't know how large your scenes are. So it's hard to say. Let's see. Well, first of all, I would say let's just say that all the scenes are just plain 3D, just 3D objects in a 3D world, um, and one camera. I would probably do a scene where let's just duplicate some objects. I would call it like I would say like scene one or like phase one or part one, like an animated story, and then I would call it scene two, and then I would say like as your logic happens, like let's say you have a transit by time doing some stuff, and it's operating on moving the camera or something. So set position of camera. And then when this could be several transit by times, by the way. So you could have like something happening and then start the next one. But then at some point you'll want to set visibility. So when your animations end and it's time for the scene to move over, you would probably turn the scene visibility of scene two on and also turn off the visibility of scene one.
Filter Dank says, should each scene be on a separate 3D layer and have its own camera and I toggle the visibility on and off?
It doesn't have to be on its own layer, but you can do that if that's easier for you. If that makes it easier to separate the different pieces, that could make it a lot easier just in general. So yeah, do whatever is comfortable. I don't think, as long as the objects are turned off and you don't have multiple cameras on at the same time rendering the same objects, I don't think you have to worry too much about performance because there's not too much you can do to change it it'll be more dependent on your meshes and your textures and what material you're using and all that stuff. Oh no, is it just me? I can't hear Celine.
Oh, sorry, I had my mic muted. Please try that, Filter Dank. And if you have any more questions, you can bring it back to office hours and we'll help you troubleshoot. Bruno says, August, is it possible to change between materials in a 3D object? I'd like to make an effect where the person touches the screen and the dissolve is activated. Touching it again returns previous material.
Yeah. So you can use
I
the
think
set
we
material.
actually have a interaction node, interaction where you can tap to switch between materials, right?
Oh, that is very possible. I would yeah, tap screen to cycle materials. So your target here is scene 1 because that's the object that is selected in the inspector here. And then you can just add an array of materials. So yeah, this is a pretty easy way to do it. So you can just say, I want it to start with Skybox, and then I want to go standard PBR, and then default. And then this scene 1 object that is rendering to sky pattern RT. I'll switch it back so we can see it. When you click on the screen, as you can see, the standard PBR and the default are basically pretty much the same since I didn't change standard PBR at all. But when it goes to Skybox, actually it might be a little different. Let's see. Yeah, it is different actually. Yeah, so that's the one we created for the checkerboard Skybox. Here's default, and here's the actual Skybox, default Skybox. As you can see, it's no longer a cube. This is like what I was saying before, where it uses a vertex shader to basically stretch the object infinitely large in a certain way so that it just covers the entire sky. There's a trash truck outside my window if you can hear it.
Now at this point, we kind of miss it if it doesn't happen. August and the outside trash truck every week.
I
It
actually
seems
live
like
in
you're
Landfill.
It seems like you're helping a lot of people because I hear a lot of thank yous in the comment section. I have Max saying, Thank you, I can publish my effect now. And Florentia is also saying, August, just nail it. Thanks, I will upload today. So, very good job troubleshooting, August.
Awesome.
We have another question from Kasai. Kasai says, Is image filling by visual scripting still possible? I've only seen the filling option on legacy image properties. I want to rework a new loading bar. Thanks.
Oh, image filling. I see. You're
You mean
talking
these are
about
the draw
the
modes?
old draw mode. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Let's see what we can whip up. So by default, images come in with this fit stretch mode, which is different than the old one. So don't get tripped up on that being different. Notice how there's these empty areas. It does this so it can keep its ratio so that the image doesn't stretch. If you want it to work like the old way, you would change to stretch mode. And then there's also these fill, and this will basically do the opposite of that first one, where it's matching the height. It's matching whichever is the smaller side or the longer side, I guess. So to do a fill, let's see. Well, let's start with filling cut, and then let's see what happens when we change the pivot. Maybe there's something there. Oh, it doesn't recenter with the pivot, so that might be a little hard. Well, trying to think of what other options we have. Um, yeah, I don't think we can completely just remake the old draw mode. But if you let's downscale this a bit so that it would be the background of a loading bar. So most of the time when you're doing like a loading bar, not always, you can do it however you want, but a lot of times when I do loading bars, I'll create a foreground that'll be like some sort of higher quality like faceplate of the loading bar. And then I'll create another asset that's just kind of like a one single color or a gradient or something, like whatever fills that loading bar, and I'll put it behind it. And then say that you would have like green, or maybe it even changes color as it fills up. You could do that too. But in this in this way, you could create some sort of object that scales along the x-axis. And if you change the pivot to the left side or the right side, when you scale, it'll move from that starting point to the end, and that kind of at least fills that that same purpose of what you're trying to do. And if you have like a rounded edge, it might not look absolutely perfect, but I think this would work for most scenarios. This has kind of been like the workaround I had in my head. I hadn't tried it until now, but it looks pretty decent, especially since you can go from 0 to 1. This is in the same way as your fill mode in the old version. So that makes it pretty simple to work with. But yeah, that's like a okay resolution for now. If I do think of any other ways to simulate that fill mode, or maybe something will pop up in the asset store eventually or something like that. Always remember to check the asset store. I think in the last version, I think they added more assets.
Yeah, every time I check the asset store, I discover things that wasn't there, and I'm like, "Wait, when did they update this?" But did you know that if you go to the asset store and select the cat option, like the cat morph, they actually have 3 different cats in there? Mingus just told me like in a live couple days ago, and I thought it was just the cat that you see like on the front page, but apparently you have a Siamese cat, a different kind of cat. So even if you like apply the assets, like look into the different materials and see what you get. So random trail off, but that's so funny to me.
Yeah, definitely play around and import some of these things. It's almost like some of these almost like play the part of like a template or like some project to play with.
Yeah. Okay, next question by Haley Catpaz. She says, "Is it possible to have the physics system working on certain bones of the 3D model while it also has an active enabled animation? It seems that I currently can only get the physics system to work on it when the animation component is disabled."
Yeah, if there's an animation driving any of your bones or any of the properties, um, like scale or anything like that of the bones, then it's going to overwrite whatever changes you made each frame after all the visual scripting ends. So there's not really a way to like overwrite the animation, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think if you have a bone that doesn't have any animation on any of its properties like rotation, position, scale, I think if you just add some filler bones, I think you might be able to manipulate their rotation and scale and position. So you could have like your animation has like say like bone A, B, C. If you apply an animation to A and C, then you might be able to move around bone B, and scale it. So you could have some filler bones like in between the bones that you would like to add an additional animation to. And you can try that. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought I remembered doing that. I don't have any FBXs with one of those animations on it though, at the ready. But I can experiment
Yeah.
with that. that could be an interesting.
Or maybe we can set it as a trigger. Like, let's say you have a cat ears with some bones that you want to like maybe fold down like this, and maybe it only activates when you're making the V sign. So every time else you can have the physics so it kind of moves, and then when you want to do the gesture, you just do this, and then it overrides the physics. Do you think that's possible?
That's a great practical example for, yeah, like if you want to switch between physics and animation, if that's what you're
Mhm.
saying, that's a great solution.
Okay, Haley Kepa says, okay, definitely we'll try to test that. Thank you so much. We have other questions. My image sequence has a black background. How do I remove it? Is there a blending mode? Do we have an alpha or some blending mode?
um let's see, your texture sequence. Yeah, usually a black background on a texture. The first thing I would check is when you select it in the assets panel, can you see the black background in this preview image? This is horrifying. This smash cat face. Uh, but yeah, I would check here first and see if the black background exists. And then I would, yeah, I'm curious what the black background means. It could be some issue with the imported assets. Um, but also, I don't think I've seen that before. So also check in Finder, like just open your Finder window and look at the asset in there and see if the black background exists there. Because if the black background exists before it enters Effect House, then it's probably just an asset issue. But if you're getting that still in Effect House, then I would say, um, yeah, maybe reach out in the Ask a Question channel, and we'll be able to help more.
Mm-hmm. I think in their case they wanted to import like a GIF animation, but it had a black background, so they were wondering like how to erase it.
Oh, you can import GIFs.
I think it's like GIFs, but they spliced it down so that it's like framed. So they're importing it as an animation. So
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, gotta remember to erase the background.
okay. Pega says, "Hey, I am trying to make a Subway Surfers like endless runner, but it keeps crashing and it's super slow. How would you generally do it? I'm using a bunch of 3D collision nodes for the obstacles."
um, Subway Surfer has a lot going on. Um, I would say, first of all, look at your 3D objects and how many vertices and polygons and stuff they have. And then consider if it's having a hard time like passing QA and stuff, I would recommend trying like a lighter material. If you look at the supplied materials, there's standard PBR, which a lot of people jump to, even if they don't use normal maps and all of that. I would suggest trying Blinfong because it kind of serves the same purpose, but it's like much faster, and it does have normals, which is probably the most important part of standard PBR. And uh, you could set these up as you need them basically. But I would say the materials might be the part to look into because they're kind of like telling all of the objects in the whole scene how to render. So if you swap out all of the materials with Blinfongs, you'll probably see a performance increase. The collision nodes, I don't see them being a problem if you're using that one that I put in the Discord, unless you, I don't know, maybe if you had like way too many. I guess it depends on the kind of like the ballpark of how many there are. But yeah, if you have, let's say if you had 100 of them, I would start to maybe think about worrying about how many there are.
Yeah, I think in the Discord chat, there was a live demo on how to do a character run, which I think the character was running through a corn maze, and there one of our interactive engineers showed how you can create the endless running kind of effect. So I'll see if I can find it and share it in our chat, and I'll try to provide an edited version on YouTube as well, because it seems like a lot of people are interested. um Okay, next question. Russell Skipper Jones asks, I created a 3 image sequence effect that I'm creating a video tutorial to come out soon. Oh, they are providing of help. Thank you. Use any image editor to remove the background. Perfect. Let's see. Next question. I think next question from our Facebook community. Actually, they are trying to import something as an image sequence and have it move frame for frame if you tap on the screen. Can you show us how to do that?
Yeah, sure. Let me see. I'll have to import a texture sequence. Let me just find something recent. Or we'll just go to keyboard microjam, and I'll just take one of those sequences. Okay, here we go. A nice long texture sequence. Okay, so texture sequence is here. Animated texture player. This is the newer name of the animated texture player. It used to be called animation sequence player. Animated texture info is good to have on hand as well, because then you can get frame count. And we'll just put this texture sequence in. This is our set of characters. And then we can say frame count. Yeah, we'll do a counter from 0 to frame count. And then we'll say this current number. So what we're doing is we're counting from 0 to however many frames this has. And then we are taking that current frame in the counter, and we're just saying, we're going to say play from that frame to that frame. And this is kind of the go-to way that I think a lot of people will show a single frame. There's not like a there's not like a pause at certain frame. This is kind of the way to do it. So, and notice that we're operating on this texture sequence in the assets. So if let's just add another screen image. So we add a screen image. This can use our same animated texture that we added. And notice it's gonna autoplay and forward infinite number of loops, but we can just say 1, and that'll probably be fine. And then what you would want to do if you're using this like kind of method is you would also want to probably pause on start, and then it'll go to its interesting. Actually, was it still cycling through before we okay, so you might just want to say play from 2 in this scenario. So then it'll go to 0, and then each time you tap, it'll change this from and to, and it'll basically play just that individual frame. So this is kind of like the go-to way to cycle through them by clicks. Give that a try. Does that answer the question?
I think so. That marks the end of our office hours today. As always, thank you so much for coming, everyone. It's a pleasure talking to you and addressing your questions. August, you helped so many people today. Thank you so much. As always, I hope you have a great rest of your day. It seems like the chillax team is very predominant. 76% of people chillaxed on the long weekend. But I can't forget our party goers, our 24%. So have a great rest of your week, guys. See you next week. Bye. We have a surprise coming for you soon. We have a surprise.
What?
Bye.